Welcome to Significance Breed Success. My name is Daniel Puder. I'm your host. And today we're going international. We're going to Lisbon, Portugal, where Sebastien de Nunez is joining us from. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. And you just shared with me the value of the show. And I'm so happy to be part of these and sharing with your audience today. That's an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, you're impacting people's lives from your TED Talk to your online courses to trainings to everything you do that I've seen is really adding a ton of value to people's lives. And I find that not everybody lives a life of significance. We're taught as younger, at least here in America, we're taught to go out and be successful. You know, go to college, get a good job, make a lot of money, and give back part of your time, instead of having a context in life of being significant. So I appreciate you coming on. Let me ask you, just to start off, like, where did you grow up and why do you have this mindset of significance?
Yeah, so I'm half French, half Argentinian, and I grew up in France with an Argentinian mother. So I think, and from my experience of traveling and living in different places and meeting a lot of people, usually when you have two cultures, already you have this mindset of a shift of culture, of different perspective. So you're never, the downfall of this is that you never are completely home, and you always have this different perspective from everybody else around you, because you always have this, yeah, but it could be done a bit differently. And I think that's led to a lot of traveling for me, probably in this quest of finding home, until I realized, well, you have to create it. But it's this traveling helped me. And we were talking earlier about the languages. So I speak 12 languages, and this passion of learning different languages really enhanced my desire to see things from different perspectives. And once you see things from different perspective, and you want to take the best out of everything, you go in a culture, and if you go with the American Anglo-Saxon culture, which has like these, you were mentioning earlier, this desire for success, you take that on. But you come from a Latin culture, and you put family as a strong value, and the desire of saying, yeah, it's good to have success and money, but it not at the expense of quality of life. And one clear thing for me is to have this balance, and I try to bring that to people.
So I find that, like, people are told here in America, work 5 and or 6, 7 days a week, get 2 jobs, hustle, go for it. And a big purpose is to make money. But what is crazy for my mind to think at this point is, I make money so that I can have fun. Why would I not just go have fun doing what I love to do and figure out how to make a little bit of money so I could live doing what I love to do?
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
And
I don't know if you say that. I recently updated the motto of what I do, which is 10x your income, 10x your impact, 10x your fun. And when I write that, I underline fun, because I truly believe that in the end, if you're making more money and you have a big impact, but you're not having fun, you're not a great role model. So even the impact you have is with sacrifice, which in the end, like, imagine you have the whole world living in this service, but at the expense of themselves. And like, well, yeah, that's cool. But it starts with yourself. It starts by designing the best life for you, with the intention of, and the having in mind that you're here to serve others. And so the question is, how do you have fun while making money and impacting other people's lives? This is my obsession.
I'm with you. Have you ever been to the States before?
As a teenager, like in a school trip, so not enough to experience the culture as an adult.
So we have this restaurant called Chick-fil-A now, And Chick-fil-A I mean, you walk in and you could feel the positive energy.
Mm,
They screw up on an order, or you drop your food on the ground, whatever. They're like, you know what? Let me get you another one. No problem. Done.
mm,
The context of how they not only hire people, what kind of people they hire, but how they train them and build them. What I find is a lot of people have the same thing they want. They want that same vision. They want to live in purpose. It's a religious organization, and then I've gone to other um, organizations that have a lot of turnover, that don't necessarily spend as much time on hiring or training or other things. And I see the difference in different cultures. And it's crazy that other organizations wouldn't just look at what works better than theirs. They wouldn't have this growth mindset that you're talking about, to be able to learn and figure it out. How did you figure that out in your life? Like, was there a mentor? Was it a hardship? Was it like, did you always have it? What was it like?
Um, there were some clear shifting moments when where like in my life I realized like I think one a key lesson was the moment that a friend of mine, and it's will be very hard to explain in details what happened, but he helped me understand that I tried to live my life by figuring it all on my own, to make it all alone, never asking for help because asking help is weakness, and receiving in the broader sense is weakness. So whether it's receiving help, say like, oh, you will help me learn this faster, which is having a teacher or a mentor or a coach, or receiving money, like saying, you know, I'll give you money to fund you, you know, to support you because I believe in you, or receiving a compliment, like saying someone saying you're amazing and really taking that in and say, yes, thank you so much for acknowledging it. I would actually say, yeah, no, but I'm still working on it. I'm not amazing yet. So I would not fully receive. And I realized in that moment how much I blocked any external input that could have supported me in my growth. Just because I had this mindset that if you have help, you didn't earn 100% of the credits, which is such bullshit. Like, there's no, like, I've seen that you're in MMA, and so you're an athlete, you're in sport, and you're like, there's no great athlete that didn't have not one person to support them, but a whole system. I was watching the Last Dance with Michael Jordan. There were probably 50 people that had to work for one Michael Jordan to show up on stage. Whether it's a security guard, a coach, a personal trainer, someone doing the fitness, someone cleaning his house. You had all these people that were there. Otherwise, he could not show up to be 100% in his talent. So that was clearly a defining moment, because from that moment on, I didn't know, like, instantly opened up to receiving everything, but I noticed that I received much more money. I found mentors. Um, I had much more clients more easily in that very moment.
So I'm with you. I find that as boys, when we're growing up, we're told to suck it up, be tough, and don't cry.
Yep.
So it's this vulnerability piece where we're told, be tough, don't be vulnerable, because it's weakness.
Mm.
And it's so interesting how cultures say that. Do they do that in Portugal conceptually?
I'm not familiar enough with the ground culture here in Portugal, but I would say in France it's similar.
Okay. And I've been to France. I had lunch in France last year. Is super awesome. Love the escargot, by the way. Had to plug that one. Um, love the bread. Love the meat. Love it all. Love the crazy drivers too, by the way, because I get to drive a little extra crazy. So yeah, it's really interesting to me to be able to see how people, like our system, brainwashes the beliefs into people, and then
Mm.
we're so disconnected later on in life, and people wonder why they're they don't have friends, or they don't have loved ones, or they don't have people that really care. And then I find the opposite side of it too is that there's so many people that say, oh, you're not this or you're not that, but they've never asked you to be for them. So I think there's a couple different perspectives on that. Because I had somebody say, well, you're not vulnerable with this. And I'm like, well, nobody's ever asked me to be in this situation. Like, there was no need for it. There was friendship, but there was like, like what does that mean to you? And so people ask for things, or they like claim you're not. And it's interesting to me, why not just ask for it? Why don't we just teach this to our kids? Like, we teach it in our private schools in South Florida, because I want to make sure our kids start learning how to be open, how to ask for support. And it might not be the word help, but it's support. It's your team. So we relate them to what do you need to do on your team to be able to create results?
Yes. Yes, it's and this vulnerability piece is so sensitive, because the image I use for vulnerability, I'm thinking of the warrior. So actually, that's the image my friend used with me. You just say, like, you're behaving as a warrior, and you just never come back home, to your wife. You're always on the battlefield. And this image for me stuck with me, and this idea of I'm always wearing my armor, and I always have my shield and my weapon in my hands, like in everything I do in my life, always ready for battle. And the idea that really stuck with me is how like being literally vulnerable is going naked on the battlefield, is removing the armor, removing the shield, removing the weapons, removing the helmet, removing it all. And when I'm talking about that, because like when people ask you to behave in a certain way, my role as a leader in my community is, if I want my people to be vulnerable, I have to be the first one to be. I cannot tell them remove your armor if I'm wearing mine. So, because imagine, like, it literally, if it's like the King Arthur round table with knights, and you're saying, well, oh, remove your armors, but I keep mine, I keep my sword, and I keep my shield. Like, how vulnerable people will be like, yeah, we'll remove it, but I'm not really feeling it. Whereas if you're the first one to open up, the first one to say, you know what, this is me, the naked me, without showing off, without pretending, just simple me, it helps others to be extremely vulnerable.
Do you find that, so I'm with you 100%. And that was a question I asked right back. I said, where has, and that was really interesting to me when it was asked. And I said, where have those other people that you want me to be vulnerable with, where have they ever asked for it? Where have they ever been that? Where have they ever, if they want to get to know me in a different way, it's a request compared to a more of like a complaint. I find that there's so many people that complain about things, and then they wonder why they never get what they wanted, because they never ask for what they really want.
Yeah, and I think like that is something also that I'm still working on constantly. Life is this journey of learning and growth. Is every time I found myself demanding of something, I demand from people, but demanding from life to be different from what it is currently. I realized, like, I cannot demand anything until I am that myself. So now we were talking about vulnerability, but it could be like faster in pace, or like perfect, or getting back in messages in time. If I'm not that, if I am not leading by example, I cannot demand that from anybody else. So I think that's the form of leadership that is very inspiring, very challenging, because you always have to look back. If I ask you to do something, I have to make sure that I am that myself first.